right. Well, before I begin our lesson for today, I wanted to take a moment to offer my gratitude for the outpouring of love and support that I received after last Sunday's service. Cards, text messages, emails from so many of you offering your gratitude for the service last week. One that offered you the opportunity to share your feelings relative to the siege of the Capitol that had occurred just a few days before. Also, very kind and touching comments about my having taken quite a bit of a risk in choosing to share at a fairly deeply level about my unexpected stay at the hospital on the Thursday and Friday leading up to our service last week, and the impact that that experience had and was continuing to have on me. And of course, all the love and the prayers being sent my way as my medical team and I continue to work to determine what may be going on with the irregularities that are occurring with my heartbeat. I want you to know that all of that has meant the world to me. It has served to lift my spirits and gone a long way to ease some of the anxiety and the fear that's been showing up every so often, and making the not so good days better than they otherwise might be. So I will keep you advised as more answers come to light. Right now, I can share with you that I am wearing a heart monitor. I'll be doing that for the next 2 weeks, and should have a report from my doctor with its results about a week after that. And in ongoing conversations since we were last together on last Sunday, we've also entered into the world of sleep apnea. There may be a possibility that that's going on that could be contributing to what my heart has been doing. And so I'm waiting to be scheduled for an apnea test and see if that's playing into what's been going on. So as I've been saying to a lot of people of late, the beat goes on, and that is a pun that is intended. The beat goes on. So again, thank you all so very much for all of your care and concern. So as an introduction to our lesson for today, I'd like to share some words that were offered by Walt Whitman, a great poet. And he once wrote, "Why, who makes much of a miracle? As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. Whether I walk the streets of Manhattan, or dart my sights over the roofs of houses towards the sky, or wade with naked feet along the beach just in the edge of the water, or stand under trees in the woods, or talk by day with anyone I love, or sleep in the bed at night with anyone I love, or sit at table at dinner with the rest, or look at strangers opposite me riding in the car, or watch honeybees busy around the hive of a summer forenoon, or animals feeding in the fields, or birds, or the wonderfulness of insects in the air, or the wonderfulness of sundown, or of stars shining so quiet and bright, or the exquisite, delicate, thin curve of the new moon in spring. These with the rest, one and all, are to me miracles, the whole referring, yet each distinct and in its place." Now, the first time I read those words, it struck me as being a collection of various ways that one can really be in the moment. They also struck me as words describing someone, a person, and how they can have very heightened states of awareness, able to see the smallest of detail all around them, and to behold each and every one as a miracle. Well, being a beholder is what we're going to spend time with today. And we're going to do so by turning around a little bit the perspective offered by Mr. Whitman. And what I mean by that is that everything he saw, everything he described as being a miracle, were things that he beheld all around him. All around him. So when I say we're going to turn that around, I mean that we're going to turn within ourselves, to look at some of the possible reasons why Mr. Whitman was able to see things the way he did. In other words, what are some things that we can work on in our lives that would support us in being a beholder, being someone who can see the holy, who can see the miracles all around them, no matter what the outer circumstances might be? I was reading an article from the resource section of unity.org on the website for Unity, and it offered me some context about using the word beholder in the way that we're going to do so today. And this article was written by a longtime Unity minister. His name is Reverend Paul John Roach. And one thing I gleaned as I was reading, I just jotted down a note, and afterwards I decided to just share that note as our promotional quote of the week leading up to today. And what I'd written down was, to behold another is to see with greater love. To behold another is to see with greater love. Now, when I think about greater love, in my thoughts, they just go straight to spirit. Spirit is love and nothing less. So if I wish to see everything in life as a miracle, there are a couple of things that I can make note of right from the start. First of all, spirit is love all the time, and I am not. However, since spirit is present within me, the possibility for me to be that presence of love more often is always there. And second, for that to happen, my ego, my human perceptions and perspectives, they have to just be laid aside. Now, I think that this sort of experience happens for people, a lot of people, many, many times. I mean, I think we have those moments of pure spiritual vision, those unadulterated moments of divine love, moving through us and then coming forth from us. Yeah, I remember this is going back to like 2003, 2004, when I first started traveling out to Unity Village, Missouri, to start taking classes I needed to take in order to be eligible to apply to the seminary. And those grounds, I know several of you have been there. They are sacred grounds. I could feel the sacredness every time that I was there. I had so many wonderful epiphanies on those grounds, the clarity, the guidance that was so powerful for my life. And every time my classmates and I would begin to, pack things up at the end of the week to start heading back to our respective homes all across the country, we'd ask ourselves something along the lines of, how can we take the people we become when we're here, on those grounds, and continue being those people in our everyday lives once we step outside of these gates? It's like the Buddhist teacher you might be familiar with, Jack Cornfield, in a line that he's kind of made pretty popular, where he said, after the ecstasy, the laundry. Well, my classmates and I didn't want the laundry. We wanted to have some magical way to just bottle up whatever it was we were able to access while we were at the village and take it home with us. But pretty soon we began to realize that we didn't need any magic. We didn't need a bottle for anything. The source of what we felt while on the grounds of Unity Village wasn't something at Unity Village. It was something in us that the village just made it easier for us to tap into. So our goal with this idea of being a more consistent beholder through eyes of love is to have more of these village kinds of moments, more often. And as I noted again, to have them, no matter what is going on around us or in our individual lives, and no matter where we might be at any given time. Now, at the moment, I know this for myself, and I believe it is true for many other people as well. And that is that in the times we are living right now, beholding with eyes of love, no matter what, no matter who, no matter where, can be quite the challenge. But I still have hope, and I am still willing to keep on trying, and I hope you are too. So what are some pointers that we can just kind of keep in the back of our minds as we begin considering how we can become as this loving beholder? And the first thing I'll offer to you is a very short phrase, and that is greater reality, or you can also use the term absolute reality. Now, Paul John offered in his article that he saw this greater reality as one that isn't tied to circumstances, it isn't tied to events, it is a reality that is not even tied to time. And when I use the term absolute reality, well, that basically just means God. It just means God. And that too is something that is unlimited. It has no conditions, it has no restrictions or caveats attached to it. So, second, the thing we can keep in mind is that using either one of those phrases or something else that feels resonates more with you helps us to view all of the circumstances and the events and our reactions or responses to them without our identifying with them. You see, it's not that we ignore them. It's not that we just lose all concern for our personal responsibilities, our daily tasks, and so on and so forth. However, when we behold all of these things, we're able to view them without becoming lost in them. So, for example, there are some people that you may know who just work so long and so hard at their careers that they start to believe that they are their jobs. Or someone might have a serious illness, or maybe a better example would be more of an ongoing chronic form of illness. And over time, they just begin to identify themselves as the illness. So we don't want to make our life circumstances or our life events our identities, but we do want to be able to see them, but for what they are. The third thing to keep in mind, and this is kind of cumulative, if we can keep ourselves from identifying ourselves with everything around us, then what Paul John shared as having been his personal experience can also be ours. And it's an experience where first peacefulness replaces the anxiety, where there is an ability to focus and an ability to discern without distractions. And it's one where a response from us is a response that's not only coming from a place of love, but it's also filled with compassion, and it will have everybody's best interests at heart. And then the last thing we can always remember, and maybe this is the most important pointer of all, is that this kind of awareness that we're speaking of this morning, this act of beholding from the presence of Spirit's love in us, it is always available for us to do. Now let's look at some ways that we can access that part of ourselves and begin beholding life more consistently through eyes of love. And as we do, just see if any memories come up for you about times when you were in that space, and times when you were so unattached to all the details, everything that was going on in your life or around you in life, and you were just simply witnessing life from your heart. There's a certain sense of even a gentleness in this. And maybe some of those memories will include a little bit of what I'm going to share with you now. And so one way that we can access that beholder presence in us is to know that the deep meanings in life, they're not found in the things we do. Meaning is found in our appreciation of the things we do. So if we look for meaning in the things themselves, well, that's when we start ranking them. We start rating them. This one was better than that one, or this one is more worthwhile than the other. And that is all contained within human judgment. And you know how it's sometimes said that either our own or someone else's judgment around a specific decision or experience, had become clouded. Well, that cloud in our context today, what that's concealing from us is just simply the joy of being present to what we do, having appreciation for the thing that we do. And that shows up when even the most mundane of tasks, maybe that laundry that Mr. Cornfield spoke about, it becomes a revelation just as we are more mindful to it, as we are more clearly experiencing it as we do it. I have had more ideas for Sunday lessons come to me in the shower than I can recall. And I never thought of those kinds of revelations being associated with appreciation in the moment. But now I'm realizing how much appreciation in those moments I can be much more mindful of feeling. Appreciation for simply having clean, warm, running water in my home. Appreciation for the way it can refresh and reinvigorate the start of a new day. Appreciation for the ways that it often does serve to bring new ideas and clarity and answers and guidance to me when I least expect it. It is a really powerful shift to move from looking for meaning in this case, a shower, to that of appreciating the shower itself. And for me, when I started to really try to make that shift of late, it's as if that door to my inner beholder just opened up a little bit more widely than it was before. So another way that meaning can show up as we use appreciation is through our senses becoming, or we become more attuned to things like scent and feel and texture and even taste. I've had so many meals in my life where I realized afterwards I have no memory of what it smelled like. Sometimes I don't remember tasting all that much of it. And yet, when I share a meal with someone else, with a loved one, a family member, a friend, I take more time. And I do savor first the gift of the love and the relationship that's there. I immediately become more present to connecting and sharing with the other person or persons while we're together. And then that amplifies my experience of the meal. I do smell the aromas, I do taste what I'm eating, and I enjoy the meal so much more. And I find myself even thinking, how many people and processes had to come together in perfect order in order for that meal to have made its way in front of me. Those dinners, those meals are so different than the ones I just rushed through. So my work is to place more value on appreciation on eating, to work on beholding that meal from a place of greater love, no matter whether I am dining alone or whether I am with someone else. Another thing that can clear that cloud away from us is through appreciation, is we notice that when we do, our mind begins to slow down. Our breathing starts to slow down. And we find ourselves beholding whatever is in front of us just from a place of quiet watchfulness. Again, no attachment, and we're much more at ease. And when things slow down inside of us, there's more space inside of us, and we see a more spacious environment around us. It's like if you can think of a person who might be someone who's just bound and determined that their opinion, their thoughts, their ideas, that is the right one. It is the only right one. And then they just continue to keep their head down and they will not budge off of their position. But if they do relent, just for a moment, just long enough to hear someone else's voice, it's a moment where there is space within them, more space than before, to hear another perspective, to see another option being presented. And then what they were looking at previously through a very narrow focus also is now much wider in its scope and in its possibilities. That's just a simple example of beholding. When there's just a little bit more space between our thoughts, when we know that we have time, we don't need to just rush through everything because it's a habit, and we can find that sense of relaxation in us that wasn't present just a moment before. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a lot more enjoyable way to view life. And life is something we don't want to lose sight of. We got to keep life in mind, because this idea of a beholder, it is not about unending, ecstasy or states of bliss. It is not about transcending all of our problems, transcending all of our challenges. And it is certainly not about not being human. I'm actually not sure. I've been thinking about this and I don't know the answer, but I'm not sure if anybody would really desire to just be in bliss all of the time. I don't know. But what is behind this awareness that beholding awakens, at least in the view of Reverend Paul John, is this: He said, it is the bringing forth of a transforming power to any situation, no matter how tough. No matter how tough. So if you are experiencing times of loss or sorrow or grief, and you can access that beholder in you, that is what can bring you some sustenance. It can be that which brings forth, the wisdom, the warmth, the love during a time where you may be feeling very lost and alone. If you have a difficult decision to make, accessing that loving awareness within you will guide you to directions and actions that would never have come clear through only human means. If relationships are a challenge, the beholder in you, it will work to not allow you to address them only from places of anger or resentment. And on the happy days, in those experiences that uplift you and fill you with joy, the beholder is there too. You have tapped into it when you feel your heart filling with gratitude and joy. You have tapped into it when you have a deep belief within you that all of us are together in this thing called life. You have tapped into it when you know at depth that we're all here to strive and succeed together. As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. Nothing else but miracles. Those words from Walt Whitman were the beginning of a poem where everything that followed them were descriptions that were missing something. They were missing a challenge. They were missing an instance of upset, a dark day, dark times. Everything described after those words as a miracle were things that were easy to see with eyes of love. Maybe something akin to that unending bliss that I mentioned before. And I wonder why that was so. Why did Mr. Whitman only say positive things when his words said he sees nothing else but miracles? And I guess I always will wonder why he wrote the way he did. But I do think that his view, his belief of miracles being everywhere and being able to see them so clearly can still serve as a really good starting point for us today. And I think that taking to heart and spending some time with some of what Paul John shared about being a beholder can serve to help us still see with eyes of love as we live in and try to move through the challenging experiences that are all around us right now. Last Sunday, from all of the sharing that was offered by so many of you and myself with you, just a few days after the attacks in Washington, D.C., from that day, that hour or two that we spent last Sunday, I know that emotions and feelings are covering a wide spectrum. And so I have no expectations of myself or of you to just step into this place of beholding with great ease. But what I ask of myself and of you is that you give some of your time in prayer this coming week to the possibility that being a beholder holds. To ask yourself what you really believe deep down, not out there, not in the distractions. What do you really believe deep down? Deep down, where there is no room for judgment or emotions to sneak in. Deep down. Deep down, where you always, without fail, receive unmistakable clarity. Deep down, where you don't feel lost, you don't feel alone, you don't feel hopeless. I believe that when you and I venture into that space, what we always find is spirit. What we always find is love. So let's you and I try to get to that place this week, if only for a moment, so that that love can be that which helps us know how to best start turning the pages on anything in our own lives, turning the pages in our country, turning the pages so that all that is distracting us or clouding our view will be gone. And what we'll see in its place is the loving beholder within. God bless you.